Okay, bro. This is the best way to start itong episode natin. Boom, boom.
Ito.
Eto na, bro. Eto na, bro. Is this the moment for the real opposition to come out and kasi yung iba dyan, I told you, like, hintayin nyo lang, huwag kayong makinig kay Haydarian. Si Haydarian, instigator yan. Echosera yan. Pinupush tayo na maging active. Let's just wait for our sweet time. Is this the sweet time? And tell me a little bit about yung sinasabi mo kanina off the record. Marami kang sinabi off the record, pero hindi ko i-share. Na parang may courtship na nangyari. Parang, to be
Yes.
romance of the three kingdoms ang nangyari.
Nililigawan, di ba? Nililigawan yung mga kakampings na sa amin kayo pumanig kasi salbahe yung kabila. O ganun din yung kabila, di ba? So parang ganun yung nangyayari. Kahit sa vlog mismo ni Maharlika, doon ako nagulat na parang she was addressing the yellows and the pinks. Sabi niya, dati nagmumurahan tayo, ganyan-ganyan yung sinasabi niya. Pero alam nyo ba na yung si Lisa, First Lady Lisa, dapat si Lenny tatanggal yung sa election tribunal ni BBM noon. Dapat dadayain na yan and tatanggalin na si kung hindi lang pinigilan ni Digong. So dapat magpasalamat kayo kasi kung hindi dahil kay Digong, nadaya na kayo ni middle of her term, matatanggal si Lenny, papasok si BBM. Parang gano'n. So dapat magpasalamat daw ang Pinks kay Duterte at kumampi dito sa laban na to sa kanya. Parang gano'n.
But wait,
diba?
but isn't that kind of true? I mean, I know, of course, you know,
narinig ko din yan.
Because Digong could have leaned on, diba, during yung election tribunal issue na yan. And all of us were, well, I was not surprised. I think that's where I realized Digong really doesn't like BBM because I don't think he lifted the finger at all. And that's why so humiliating yung talo ni BBM and ang laki ng ginastos niya, 200 million, 300 million. So I think may bad blood na dapat nun eh. But you know, maybe BBM is not the one holding the grudge, but clearly Digong was not gonna lift the... Kaya kasi, di ba in the previous episode we talked about Basta. Remember, isa sa mga speech ni Basta was yung ama nyo, di ba? My father buried Marcos Sr. So parang you kind of owe us. So parang I think
walang utang na loob, parang gano'n.
Parang we did that. Wala na kaming utang na loob na ililigtas ka pa namin dun sa issue ni Lenny, di ba? Considering na mukhang talo talaga si BBM ng 2016 kay Lenny, di ba? In fact, tumaas pa yung numbers. So that's interesting. So Buljak TV is now she's not trying to reach out to me. Kaya nilagan ko.
wala naman. Pero mabait siya ngayon sa mga mas mabait siya sa mga pinks at sa mga yellow kasi talagang sobrang personal na yung away nila ni First Lady and kaya galit na galit siya. So parang naghahanap ng kakampi na dapat magalit kayo diyan sa mga sa mga nakaupo ngayon. Kumbaga kasi if they want to parang magkaroon ng revolution or stand up against the government, they need numbers, di ba? So, another big na block is yung the block supporting Lenny. Na parang gano'n na lang. And parang naisip ko lang, yung galit or yung ines ng mga pinks tsaka sa yellow, sa mga Marcoses, that dates back doon sa time ng tatay. Rightfully so, na yung galit nila doon, which was 40 years ago. Yung galit ng pinks at yellows kay Digong was only 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Di ba? So parang anong mas matimbang doon, 'di ba? Jail de Lima, di ba, yung mga araw-araw na pang kay Lenny and all that. So I find it funny lang na ngayon nililigawan na itong mga pinks para mag-side sa kanila. Ito namang mga Marcoses, di ba? Matagal ng usapan, part of the government, pinapasok sa gobyerno, mga dating kay Pinoy, dating kay So magkaibang style ng panliligaw. Pero I don't know if it's working. Ano ba ang sentimiento, Richard, ng mga
tinanong ko sa'yo, bro, diba? Tinanong ko sa'yo. Well, I'm not in touch because I'm kind of out of the... I can actually tell more about papama ko. Alam, yan na naman tayo. Kaya nga ako hindi nga ako iniimbita sa mga events. Sabi ko parati kay Ronald, parang parati tayo iniimbita. Sabi ni Ronald, parang ikaw yata ang
kasama.
Since kami nagsasama, ayaw na nila imbitahin si Ronald. Sabi ko, bakit parati ka naman kay Christian Esguerra? Dapat na-cancel lang. Mukhang hindi. Mukhang sobrang suspicious sila kay Ronald dahil si Richard kasama mo, may mga plano naman kayong So, no, actually, I'm not. So I don't know if you watched, well, actually, you confirmed, so I'm not gonna pretend. Yeah, di ba parang napanood mo yung ano namin ni Ronald?
Yes.
I was actually pleasantly surprised when Ronald said, and for the first time, nakita ko Ronald openly question my thesis. Like, actually, hindi. May ginagawa sila. Ganyan. Ay, ganun ba? And of course, I was pleasantly surprised. I was not like bitter na mali ako. Or ganun. No, like, oh, okay, interesting. Oh, habang wala ka, nagbebento ka sa Japan, nag-Shinjuku. Actually, may meeting sila dito sa may San Juan, may ganito, ganyan. So, it looks like there are movements, and base sa surveys
The moments.
Bam has a good chance to make it to the 2025. Even Kiko has a good chance.
Kiko.
I think Lenny is a very sure in, if ever, sa local government level, and pretty good chance also at the national level. And we don't know. Many surprising good things could happen for the opposition. But in a way, parang sinuwerte din sila. Kasi I'll be honest about it, this uniteam conflagration, under if let's be honest, if this were really up to Sara and BBM, I think they could have completely controlled this until 2026, 2027. Essentially, you don't scratch me, I don't scratch you back, and then we'll come up with something later on. And nagpapagulo lang naman talaga dito si Digong, and Digong is a wild card, right? As we discussed in previous episode. So if there are people in the opposition are gonna say, hindi, mali yan si Richard, masyado siyang echosera, tingnan mo ngayon, things are I would say, I'm not sure about that, because this was not inevitable. And this is really a wild card situation. And guess what? Still, both Sara and BBM are saying the unity team is together. So in effect, there's still this tendency to say Digong is just a wild card. It's, out of the, so wag natin pansinin. So maybe at the end of the day, the unity team could still hold together. And maybe, bro, what we're saying is more a Buljak TV online blog thing, when in fact, when they talk about high politics, it is possible that unity will hold it together. So actually, the other week, I was beginning to doubt my own thesis. Sabi ko, baka tama nga si Ronald. Ito na talaga. This is it. And then the next day, ayan na naman si BBM. Unity is intact, beso-beso, Sarah's speech. So Joy Salcedo also has a point to a certain degree. I know that Ronald is very skeptical, but Joy Salcedo knows the thing about politics, good Machiavellian politics. And honestly, if Sara plays her card well, I think she can hold the unity team together until 25, 26, and then siya na yung reyna. And then it's really up to...
And yun nga eh. I don't see any, doon ako doubtful eh. I don't see any path forward for the unity team without Sara being endorsed as the standard bearer. At parang imposible mangyari yun. Kasi if Sara becomes president sa 2028 or kung ano man, babalikan niya lahat eh. Merong ganung ano eh. Parang yun ang hindi ko pa rin mag-gets na nangyayari ngayon, na parang okay with Sara. Pero yun nga, baka once she gets into power, what will hold her back from getting, kumbaga, gantihan yung mga gumawa nung sa tatay niya or kung kanino man.
Romualdez, or some of the other people, but I don't think BBM himself. If BBM...
Yes, BBM will be the only one that's spared.
BBM supports him in 2027, 2028, and who knows, maybe even with the rest, they'll patch it up. I mean, alam mo naman sa Philippines. Sabi mo nga nung sa first episode natin, si Arroyo nga biglang nandun na sa kabila. So, these are politicos, bro. These are politicos. So I won't be surprised. So I'm still confident na mas tama ako kay Ronald, na in the end, the temptation of convergence of interest will be stronger than the temptation of going for broke. I mean, maybe Tatay Digong wants to go all the way, but in 2027, 2020, things could be very different and in favor of Sara. Unless Sara's number dramatically collapse and then dramatically nag-increase si Romualdez, or Rafi Tulfo continues with his current trend line, because he went from 11% to 25%. Actually, if you give it 1 year, I won't be surprised Rafi will be 30 to 40%. Diba? So actually, Rafi Tulfo for me is the other wild card here. Because Rafi Tulfo, Senator Tulfo, seems to have good understanding with President BBM. So one wild situation you can imagine is, if talagang the unity team falls apart, BBM will support Rafi na lang, Tulfo, as their unity candidate. But as of now, I think both Rafi Tulfo wants to be out of this thing, kasi I think Rafi is smart enough to realize, okay, ayoko makisaw-saw dyan. I have my own thing. Let's see later on. And he's been already a target. Diba? Pansin mo, ang daming attack kay Tulfo since naging number 2 siya kay Sara. Guess why? Diba? So there's that aspect. As long as Sara is number 1 sa surveys, way ahead of any other alternatives within the ruling coalition, and then you have this aspect of Tulfo, diba? There's still a lot of reason for them to hold it together and then just try to ignore Tatay Digong. And as BBM said, alagaan nyo na lang yan, diba? I mean, essentially, that's what BBM's strategy was. But of course, everything I said here, bro, will go out of the window if ICC issues warrant of arrest for Digong, and then Sara will have to make a decision.
I think yung warrant, that's a given eh. Ako, wala akong question na I think the warrant will come out. Yung pag-aresto ang worried about ako. Paano yung pag-aresto if meron man?
Not a given. So I think we may agree with Senator Tulfo that the ICC arrest will come this year, but how BBM will act upon it? Kasi so far, di bang style ni BBM, parang Sara din, playing it safe. On one hand, we're not gonna stop them. On the other hand, we're not gonna lift a finger. Parang having it both ways, no? Kaya yung other argument ko naman dito is, tama si Ronald na the bardagulan is getting crazy. But I think in a situation without ICC, this is manageable. Essentially, Sara and BBM saying, alam ko, Sara, di mo kontrolin tatay mo, hayaan mo na lang siya. Okay. And then, Sara, pasensya mo yung tatay, alam mo naman, ganyan. Then that's it. Pero in an ICC situation, when BBM wants to impress the West, and this is where actually a weird argument came from, a very interesting argument. Tignan mo yung interview ko with Attorney Ruben Carranza, who knows a thing or two about ICC. Ang argument naman ni Ruben Carranza, which is I think totally unique, was maybe even US doesn't want the Philippines to cooperate with ICC because the US itself doesn't cooperate with ICC and ICJ. But I expect the EU and other Western countries to nudge BBM to go with the ICC decisions. So there'll be some interesting also, I won't say divisions, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm bringing it to the next level because at the end of the day, this is about Project Marcos rehabilitation of 100%, right? Because this is about Sandro. This is about the next generation. So ang daming mga moving parts, ang daming mga variables, bro. Kaya nga sabi ko, it would be foolish for any of us to say 100% sure na ito yung mangyayari scenario.
Hindi, at first, tama ka yung Project Sandro, the next generation rehab. Pero that was before the Davao Rally. So after the Davao Rally, this becomes more personal. This becomes, di ba? Baka gigil na yung mga nandun sa ano. So, yun nga, kung hindi, if Davao didn't happen na rally, baka possible pa na ganoon. Yung sa opposition din, I want to say din na hindi naman totoo na walang ginagawa or nanonood lang yung opposition. Kasi very active naman si Senator Risa, di ba? Yung kanyang investigations kay Kibuloy, kay si former Senator Trillanes.
Just to be clear, sorry, I have to cut you there. I'm not referring, I always said, I'm talking about the core Liberal Party, whatever. I would even say that Leila de Lima, who's
Leila de Lima
doing a great job, Franz Castro Riza. But obviously, no, Riza is not representative. I mean, she's a progressive, right? I'm talking about the liberal opposition, not the progress. I think Franz Castro and Riza are doing a fantastic job. And then you have the interesting case of Leila de Lima, right? But
hindi, siya yung mga pinks, di ba? Napag-uusapan natin na pinks cannot fully embrace Senator Riza, di ba? To lead the opposition. Parang may ano pa rin na ganun, di ba? Meron pa rin, hanggang ngayon ba meron pa rin na parang they're still waiting for Lenny, they still want Lenny sa 2028. Kaya they cannot accept other leaders to step up like Senator Risa, which siya yung highest rank ngayon. Pero may ginagawa naman like si former Senator Leila de Lima, 'di ba? Very active din in pursuing yung mga against the Dutertes. So hindi naman pero ang tanong ko nga Richard, yung mga the kakamping movement, what should they do? Dito sa sitwasyon na to, nag-aaway na yung dati nilang kalaban. Should they just ignore? Should they pick aside? Or should they just focus sa 2025? Paano nga bang, what's the best way
to all of the above, right? Ako naman, I think it's very important na magkaroon din ng rally yung totoong opposition to remind everyone that they're still existing. And in that rally, they have to do the three following things. I already laid this out in a vlog, no? So you can see, pinag-isipan ko na mabuti yan. Hindi ako hater or whatever, diba? I think they have to be very clear na neither nor. They do not agree with the Chacha moves of Romualdez, but they also do not agree with the secession moves of BBM, and they want ICC to come in. Go out, do the rally, and that 3 points, just 3 points. I'm not going to come with 10 to 1, just 3 points. And with doing that, they're essentially carving out their own identity and policy position. Now, behind the scenes, then we have interesting dynamics. You can have intersectional, cross-purpose Medyo naging emotional ako kasi this will go to our 4th episode. That was my last interview on CNN Philippines with Pia Hontiveros and all, was exactly this topic. I said opposition has to be intersectional, fluid, but has to carve out its space. And again, going to the next episode, otherwise it will be boxed out because we're going to talk about basketball too, right? So I use the metaphor of getting boxed out. Kasi di ba usually, let's say, dalawa yung superstar sa dalawang team, pero may iba rin na sobrang galing. Let's say there's a Kobe Bryant, but there's a Shaquille O'Neal. But if you just leave it to Kobe Bryant and, I don't know, LeBron James back in the day, di ba? Miami Heat, then maging completely box out ka na, di ba? Parang you're hoping na itong dalawa na mag-injure sila and all. No, but you have to assert yourself and at some point say, oh, magaling din ako ah. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal in the house, or I don't, maybe Shaquille is a too high star, but think of someone who's just below. Like if Kobe is like 95 out of 100, think of someone who was like 90 or 88. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, they have to carve out the space, and then tactically behind the scenes, they have to do their strategy. So there has to be a, again, war of positioning, meaning that my positioning sila dyan, and then at the same time prepare for the war of maneuver, which is winning the elections next year. So this is a very unique strategy approach that I have. I think Ronald Llamas is more optimistic than me. I'm not saying I'm not optimistic. I'm just saying kailangan ng stronger messaging because it's been a while since I did a vlog on some big thing done by the opposition. But aside from Riza Hontiveros and Franz Castro and all of that, I mean, but those are individuals eh. You know, kaya nga sabi ko nung Christmas party na nagsama silang lahat in one picture, Franz Castro, Leila de Lima, Lenny and all, that was a big one. But you know me, I'm quite religious, so I don't want to make comments on Christmas and politics. I don't want to mix the two. So actually, out of religious regions, I know this comes strange. I didn't talk more about, I didn't want to talk about it because I felt it's a spirit of Christmas and all. I'm just going to respect it and not talk about it. But honestly, I hope to see those kinds of pictures in a more secular context. So that's where I come from. Do you see where I'm coming from, bro? Like, hey, andito kami, may position din kami. Hindi naman na ano na pa importante, but just to be clear na yung idea. Kasi bro, ang nangyari ngayon is, oh, saan kayo tatay ah? Dito kayo dyan. So parang hindi ka player, you're just a factor.
May tanong ako, Richard, kasi with all the realignments happening now, yung Pinks parang nakikita ko is becoming the third party. Parang, di ba, medyo lumiit, third party
siya. One side than the other. A third party that is leaning to one side or the other.
Yes.
You mean third party in like literally third party na hindi.
Yeah. Dahil nahati yung unit team, opposition yung DDS, admin yung mga loyalista, and yung Pinks ang nagiging parang third party na hindi na sila yung actual na opposition na which is yung DDS. Parang ganun ba yung nangyayari? So yung Pinks ba, could Pinks play the role of being the third major party sa bansa?
I would say, to simplify it, of course, I can talk about 10 gradations, but the two major gradations in Pink is never Marcos versus never Duterte. My sense is Duterte is a stronger force right now than never Marcos, but the never Marcos ones are still powerful. You know where they are, right? You can easily find certain news outlets and all of that, and maingay sila. And I noticed they make snidey comments when I say something about Marcos and take it out of context. Remember, I had the piece about, you know, why Marcos is turning out more reformist and all. They twist it out of context. There are also some crazy leftist people, whatever, who also have their own, like, screw you,
their own
purist, whatever, right? So for me, I think 60-70% is never Duterte. Easily. I can feel confident. But can they produce the next generation leaders, or can they convince the pre-existing leaders, the titas and titos of the opposition movement to decide? So you have some people openly saying, no, it's time to really side with Marcos now. Kasi the greater threat to our democracy is Duterte. He's already calling for rebellion and, you know, inciting, secession. But for me, I get what's that coming from. But for me, it's important before making that move for tactical reasons, also carve out your own space. Parang, okay, gets ko nang sabihin mo, unahin muna natin si Digong, mamaya na natin, let's see what we do with BBM. At least BBM is not a threat, systemic threat. I get that, but my point is, hindi pwede na ano lang kayo, sidekick lang kayo. You have to have your own. I mean, of course, realistically, they're the small third, diba? If you read the Chinese Romance of Three Kingdoms, it was not between three equally sized kingdoms. There were like two larger one and a smaller one, right? So clearly they're the smaller party by far, but I think if they play their cards well, parang geopolitics yan, di ba? You can end on a better side of history. Yeah.
You can be kingmaker, di ba? Ano, and
Or your own
siguro mas less,
or you can make your own king or queen down the road.
yun.
Not
And
now,
siguro
but
mas less pressure on the pinks to become the party na talagang o-oppose lang lahat. So, yun nga, parang if you're the third party, you got room to maneuver, to grow, to rebrand, to develop yung new generations nyo. Hindi mo kailangang involved sa lahat ng nangyayari sa national. You can pick saang side ka pipili. And baka yun nga siguro ang
I agree with
best
you.
path moving forward with sa pinks. Kasi malakas yung voting block ng pinks malaki talaga. Ulitin ko yung sinasabi ko, Richard, yung party list. Yung party list ng pinks, di ba? That's the sayang yung if you really want na isulong yung mga ideology ni Lenny and all that, you need more people sa Congress na who gets elected because of the campings. Di ba? Na you'd have to satisfy their base. So I think doon nagsisimula in 2025. Doon nila simulan siguro.
Yeah. Basta ang position ko, neither nor. Find the third way. That's essentially my question. It's not easy, of course. Sabihin na si Richard, anong alam mo sa politics? Well, I just predicted a lot of things. Anyway, no, but I agree. On the ground, maybe they're more right than me because I think I'm good in strategic analysis, but tactical analysis, kaya nga kinukuha ko si Ronald parate. Kasi siya may tactical experience siya, ako wala eh. So you see, I'm humble enough to recognize my limitations. But big strategic questions, I think, so far, thank God, medyo okay tayo. I think that sets the tone for our next topic because we want to also talk about the information environment and the entertainment environment because, it's not like kakamping only thinks about politics every day. They're human beings. They're looking at media. They get their information from media. But the media industry is also going through massive, massive changes. And so next episode, pag-usapan natin yung situation ng ex-CNN Philippines and what awaits us in terms of the information environment and Gilas Pilipinas, basketball, other interesting stuff. Thank you so much, Marc Gamboa, for that fantastic... I like that. Actually, thank you for those questions. You can see, naisip ko naman siya. Hindi naman ako knee-jerk na hater lang. No, inisip ko talaga siya na mabuti. But I'm more than happy to be corrected if that means things are better even than I think. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.